You should be good to go, Wes.
All right, thanks.
Uh-huh.
Okay, this time I'd like to call the April 13th, 2021 Madison County Planning Commission meeting to order. If we could, John, could we start with a prayer?
Let's all pray. Dear Lord, we just thank you for this day. We thank you for this spring season and the newness of life that we see each and every day. Lord, we're so blessed and so many great things that we are given by you, and we just pray that we can do your will. Lord, we just also lift up everybody, the firemen and the policemen and everybody that keeps us safe each and every day. Lord, we just pray that you will keep them safe as they try to do their jobs. Lord, as we start this meeting today, we just pray that you will guide us and help us to do the best of the county. This we ask in your name. Amen.
All right, everybody stand for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, Stacy, we have a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Jerry Alexander,
Present.
Lindsey Brown, Kim Hyatt,
Here.
Corey Bowlander,
Here.
Tom Shepard,
Here.
John Richwine, John Zimmerman,
Here.
David Kane,
Here.
and Wes Lykin.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we need to approve our March 9th minutes. Are there any addition or correction to the minutes? One here?
I wasn't here either.
Guess you guys are okay with it.
Yeah, we're fine with it.
Corey, Kim, any addition, correction? David?
No.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same?
Aye.
Got it. Thank you. Okay. Now, this, for the executive session, what do I need to do, Jeff?
You just need to invite a motion and second to approve a memorandum which states that the only thing that was discussed at the 8:30 executive session this morning was what was noticed for, which was threatened or initiation of litigation.
Okay. We have a motion for that, John.
So moved.
A
That's
motion
needed.
and a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same? Okay, motion passes. New business, Brad.
The first and only petition on the agenda is petition 2021-W-001. Property is located at the northeast corner of the intersection of West 700 North and North 800 West. It is in Pipe Creek Township and in the District 3, the Commissioner's District 3. The owner is Dennis and Patricia White, and the petitioner is Dennis White. The request is a waiver to allow 2 splits on less than 10 acres for a total of 3 parcels in the agricultural zone district. Petitioner satisfied all documentation requirements and has also placed ads and notice in the newspaper and submitted notices to surrounding property owners. The existing parcel contains 9.973 acres. And the entire parcel is vacant and does maintain an agricultural use. The parcel is in the Pipe Creek watershed, and there is an unregulated mutual drain on the parcel adjacent to the east. The parcel is relatively flat with a 4-foot elevation change from the west to the east, across approximately 750 feet. The property adjacent to the east and to the southeast on the south side of West 700 North does contain, both contain single-family dwellings, and there are 5 homes existing within approximately 700 feet of the boundary of the proposed parcel. And you'll see a mixed use of agricultural and residential throughout that vicinity, as well as some a large wooded area around the unregulated mutual drain. The proposal would establish 3 parcels on this 9.973 acre parcel. There'd be a northern portion that would be approximately 5 acres, and then there would be 2 parcels, one to the southeast, one to the southwest, each containing approximately 2.5 acres. If you look at page 9, you can see a rough sketch of how they are proposing to split the parcel. Have indicated the articles within the Land Use and Development Code that is pertinent to this request. I will point out that in Article 3.2 of the Subdivision Control Ordinance, it does state that any acreage between 6 and 10 acres is allowed 1 split for a total of 2 parcels, and anything between 10 and 15 acres allows 2 splits for a total of 3 parcels. And again, this parcel is 9.973 acres, so they are about 27 hundredths of an acre shy of meeting the 10 acre requirement. If this is approved, an administrative plat will need to be submitted and approved. The administrative plat will be reviewed by the Drainage Board as well as the Plat Review Committee. And then, of course, if the administrative plat goes through, then they will need an improvement location permit for any new buildings on each of the parcels. 700 North and 800 West are both local roads with a 60-foot right-of-way measured 30 feet from the center. And you can see the land use table on page 4 showing that all of the property around this, the subject parcel, is zoned agricultural. And you'll see the mixed use that was stated earlier. Page 5 are the findings, the proposed findings of fact, as the staff does recommend approval of the request. If you have any questions for me, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Oh, I will point out, we did receive a remonstrance against this from James and Lori Duarte. I hope I pronounced that name correct. That came in yesterday. You should each have a copy of that letter.
What's the minimum generally? I know it varies, but for a septic system?
We require a minimum of 2 acres.
That's what I thought.
in the agricultural and the conservation residential
So-
zoning, which is 95% of the zonings in Madison County. in our
So
jurisdiction.
we're within that boundaries, the
Yes.
3 acres.
Yeah, in fact, with the administrative plat, they're required to meet that 2 acre minimum,
Yeah.
and their proposal does that.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to point that out, make sure that was right. Okay.
I know this isn't for us here, but the drainage board,
Yes,
it floods tremendously at 700 north and 900 west.
about a mile west of there.
Yeah,
I think it's a mile
Yeah.
west.
and maybe a half mile, yeah, half mile is a little more. But that's a low area there.
Yeah,
This will not, this is not gonna flood like that.
yeah, okay.
I don't know where the drain's going to,
Okay, I
but it won't flood there.
Is that like right in?
There's an open ditch there on that east, on the parcel to the east adjacent to this parcel. That open ditch goes into Pipe Creek, which is just on the south side of 700 North.
Really. Yeah, I've turned around there a few times.
This is actually a high point, right? That intersection of the high point?
It's, I think there's higher ground, some higher ground to the west, but not by a tremendous amount. I'd have to look at the contour maps again, but if I recall, there was some higher contours on the property on the west side of 800 West. It looked like everything's draining to the east towards that open ditch, which makes sense.
Yeah, it's a hole. Now, I've been splashing through that before to get to. So Anybody have any questions? Jerry, you got any questions?
No, I'm good with it.
Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, there's been on this letter, it says they didn't get permission to drain through their property, and that's what I'm reading here.
Whenever there's when you're putting in any kind of a new structure with a septic system, in many cases, a perimeter drain is required. And the perimeter drain has to have a positive outlet. It's based on the letter, and I'm not sure what that situation is. It could be that they purchased the property from that individual, I don't know. But for whatever reason, they're suggesting that they only gave approval for the drainage of one house.
So they must have run an outlet through them, I'm guessing.
I would guess, yeah.
And then said they're gonna put one house on it, but now they're gonna put three.
Yeah.
That's what but we may find that out in a minute.
Yeah, we may.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any questions? Is there anybody out here that would like to speak on this?
If you would like to
For,
speak,
against it?
please come forward and sign your name and address and state your name and address and then address the board.
So this is one house over here. Did I take it? Remember Darrell Green? Yeah.
Hi, my name is Lori Duarte. I'm the one who sent the email last night. We just wanted to specify what exactly was going on because he did approach us and asked about the drainage output. We're not completely in understanding, so we wanted to come and see if it was actually going to make a difference to our property or not. But we did speak with him, and he originally stated that it was going to be a home for him and his wife. A home, and that's the whole purpose why we're here.
So now
Why
where
I'm here.
do you live?
I live,
Did you tell us your address?
No, 7758 West, 700 North. So she lives adjacent to the property. She's the seller of the property, and I live next to her. But my property goes back 5 acres, and my backyard, goes and intersects with his property.
Okay. And you're concerned what would happen to your property with 3 homes and the drainage?
Yes. Yes, sir.
So she lives in the house right here at the 2 buildings?
Yes.
Darrell Bradwin's old house?
Yes.
Okay. And then you're next to that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Her other old house. She had all the property before.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason why we stepped up today, because my husband, I came in for him as well. But we wanted just to hear what was going on and get more specifics on how or if that would affect our home or our property.
Do you notice any draining issues now?
Well, it all drains to that area that's already really clogged. But no, not really.
We talking about the place on the road you're talking about?
Probably.
The whole thing is his parcel. He's looking at the north 5 acres and wants to.
You'll have to make a.
And the homes are going to be built on those.
The homes would be placed on
here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So he's going to build
That'd
his
be
home
fine
here.
for you, right?
And these would go up for sale.
Yeah, you'll do that.
Can I get a copy of it?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stacy, we might note that John Richline walked in.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
The only thing I could see on the drainage that would affect their property, if it drains that way, I'm assuming, because of that outlet that they put in there for that first home,
Right.
all it's gonna do, they're just basically gonna be draining around their septic system.
Well,
Unless they put a perimeter drain around their house.
I'm guessing her concerns are more surface drainage. And, in farm field, the coefficient for runoff on a farm, on an agricultural property is much higher than that of a lawn, a grassy area. Coefficient decreases considerably when you put in a lawn.
I would think it would help them more than hurt them.
It should, but you know, those kind of things are said all the time, and it ends up not necessarily working
Yeah.
that way. What I can add is that this does go in front of the Drainage Board as an administrative plat. The Drainage Board would have to approve the 3 lots. They would have to make that determination on whether they feel that those, the 3 parcels will not adversely affect the drainage in that area. And if the Drainage Board determines that it will, then they could certainly deny a 3-lot administrative plat.
Well, to get a septic system permit, they're gonna have to decide whether that outlet that they have can handle all 3 septic systems.
Correct. They would, whatever perimeter outlet, or whatever the outlet is for the perimeter drain, they would have to ensure that it would meet that requirement.
Yeah.
Yep. There's certainly several more steps that
Sure.
they would have to go through in order to make this truly happen.
Does that answer your question or concern?
Yeah.
Mhm.
More I can bring home to my husband to talk to.
Okay. Yep. Anybody else?
Morning. My name is Jim Lowe. My address is 7434 North, 800 West. So I'm just north of the property. Do not butt up against it. I guess I have questions more than comments. I'm not for or against. I just have questions. I heard you say there's several more steps after this that would have to take place. I don't know what those steps look like. I think it's currently zoned agricultural. Will there be then a zoning meeting as well to rezone to residential, or not necessary?
Agricultural zoning is a residential.
Is residential,
zoning
thank
that
you.
allows single-family
Okay.
homes.
And the next question is, I'm concerned, I haven't seen the map of, I heard north and southeast and southwest. Would be driveway accessibility. There's a pretty steep hill.
That's what they're proposing.
Thank you. So this driveway here, Miss Bradburn's property, is right at the top of a pretty significant hill. I've got teenage kids and they're not always paying attention, so I'm just concerned about adding traffic flow right there at 700. I'm not sure. It's kind of a blind spot coming up that hill, so just concerned about traffic flow, but so there's a hill. If you see the driveway on 700 North, at that house, that existing house there, that's right at the top of a hill.
Yeah.
So adding driveways, 2 more driveways on 700, I guess that'd be 700 North.
Be 2 on 700 and then 1 on the other road.
Well, of course, the other,
Right.
the one lot could go to 800.
It could go to
If
800.
you look at page 15, it gives you a good view of what you're seeing when you're heading east.
Brad, could the
Oh, I see, yeah.
planning commission require that corner lot to have its driveway on to 700, or pardon me, on to 800 instead of 700?
Yes.
And I would go along with Mr. Lowe on this one. That
Looks like it.
2 driveways on 700 right there is probably not a good idea.
Well, there's Miss Bradburn's on the north, and then there's Mr. Hartwell's on the south, so there's already 2 right there.
Adding 2 more is probably not a good idea. So if you're thinking about passing it, then you can limit it to 1. I would certainly do that.
There's just be a condition of the approval.
What's that other road number?
800 west.
800 west.
That's your road, isn't it? What road's your dad?
900.
The final question, the 2.5 roughly acre plots, could somebody come back and say, hey, we want to split these 2.5s into 5 more, or is there any chance, any risk, or what's the risk level that those 2 parcels would be split again by the new owners?
Right now, the maximum number of splits he can have is 1. He's requesting a second, and that would be it.
That's the end of the story. Okay. Thank you.
And plus, they couldn't do anything with it. If they split it again, there's not enough room to put a septic on it.
Yeah,
either.
so the septic's gotta be at least 2 acres.
You were asking about the other steps that was going to be needed. Number one, they're going to need to hire a professional land surveyor to prepare a boundary survey, and then that surveyor will also prepare an administrative plat, which splits the parcels. And through that administrative plat process, there's a committee that has to review that administrative plat to ensure that it meets all the requirements that we have through our zoning ordinance and through other rules in other departments. In addition to that, he'll have to go in front of the drainage board to get approval for the administrative plat as well. They could certainly deny that if they don't feel the drainage is adequate to those three. If they feel that it is adequate, then they'll likely approve it. After the administrative plat process is through, his next step would be, of course, to get permits from the health department for septic systems. Now, of course, he's only going to be concerned about the one lot he's building on. I assume he's going to sell the other 2 lots. And so anybody that acquires those lots would then have to do the same. They would have to get approval from the health department to put in a septic system. And then they would ultimately get an improvement location permit through our department, in which case the county surveyor's office does a quick drainage review as well. So, okay?
Thanks.
Yep.
And anybody else?
I'm not opposed to it. I'm the Dennis White that's asking for the variance. I just thought it might clear things up a little bit. I wanted the right to do this, not the obligation to do it. As I wrote in my letter of intent, this is land, if I build on it, will be for my daughter and my great-grandson. So I was just preparing things for later on. I also talked to the drainage board and the surveyor, and he told me how to go about getting the things taken care of. I also read the documents for the county on placement of driveways. And one of them would be on the 700 and the other one would be around on 800. And it also meets all the requirements for a driveway on a new plot. So
Is yours on 800 now?
my driveway will be on 800. Yeah, we're going through the process, getting building permits and
Are you building on the back lot?
north side, yes.
North, the bigger lot.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's what we figured, but I just want to make sure.
Yeah. So at this time, there's not gonna be but one home on it. And what they do after I die, I don't know, but that's our plan here.
So we want to make sure there's provision for that driveway to be on 800.
Yes.
Yeah,
Southwest corner lot.
and that's really the only good place to put it, so.
We're not really trying to tell him what he can and can't do with his property, just trying to figure out if it affects us.
Connor. Any other comments?
One comment I have is your husband might want to come to the drainage board, just so any questions you have with drainage, that's where you go, not here. It has to pass here first, then it goes to the drainage board.
We need a motion. I make a motion if we put in there to move the drive to 800 and to accept the quantity. Right. I don't know how to put it on my bill.
Good, yeah. No, that's good.
Okay, we have a motion.
And you accept the findings of facts.
Everything he's supposed to say he did.
Okay.
Okay, we got a motion.
I'll second that.
We have a second. Could we have a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Jerry
Hang
Alexander.
hang on a minute,
Oh,
Stacy.
sorry.
You're making a motion that it has to go out on the west.
Yep.
800
2 drives on 800, 1 drive on 700.
And we're assuming then that it meets all the requirements by the planning commission, to go out on 800 west, right?
Yes.
It will. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Okay, Stacy.
All right, here we go. Jerry Alexander,
Yes.
Kim Hyatt,
Yes.
Corey Bolander,
Yes.
Tom Shepherd,
Yes.
John Richwine,
Yes.
John Zimmerman.
Yes.
David Kane,
Yes.
and Wes Lyken.
Yes,
Thank
motion
you.
passes. Okay. Brad, any other business?
The only thing I wanted to bring up was the solar ordinance.
Back on that again.
The HB 1283, I think it's the House bill. It's passed the House and it goes to the Senate. I think they're supposed to vote on it possibly today. One of the things that has been discussed with that House bill is that and I believe the deadline's July 1st, but any ordinances that's adopted locally by July 1st would be grandfathered in, and those stipulations would hold. If something is not adopted by that date, then the state HB 1283 would be what's in effect.
Now, you do have ordinances on the books that would stand.
Yes.
Which would probably be more restrictive than what the
State.
statement is.
Yes.
Certainly more restrictive than the state is.
Yeah, we have an existing ordinance that we can just continue to keep it, or we can adopt something more restrictive, which I've certainly worked on and have. One other thing, and this is just something to point out, I hadn't seen it until about 3 weeks ago, and that was the ordinance from Wells County. I had looked at it last year, and they hadn't made any adjustments to it, but apparently late this last year, they had made some adjustments. And I just wanted to present what that ordinance states and give you just see if that's something that even interests you. But what the Wells County ordinance does, in effect, it defines small scale, medium scale, and large scale solar farms. It then permits small scale in every single zoning district. Medium scale is permitted in most everyone. I think there was 2 in which they were required a special use. But where it was interesting was with the large scale solar farms, they actually established a zoning district for solar farms that you would have to rezone in order to be able to establish one. And second of all, there was only about 5 zoning districts in which you could even rezone. So what that ultimately would do is require any large-scale solar farm to go through first the Plan Commission and then the Board of Commissioners to rezone the property. And then in like 3 of the 5 zoning districts, it also required a special use. So not only would they need to get the rezone, then they would have to go in front of the Board of Zoning Appeals for the special use. So it definitely would give the general public a lot of time and a lot of places to make statements. The other thing that I've had issues with and concerns with is the setbacks and so forth that we placed on the existing the Lone Oak Solar that was approved. Are those restrictions something that we want to place in every single zoning district? And it's something that we want to put in place in every single situation? Because I think each situation is different. If you look at the solar farm that was put in on Rangeline Road, that property is a lot different than the 750 acres we were looking at up north. In addition, if you're looking at a solar farm that's in one solid location as opposed to being dispersed between a bunch of houses, that's a much different situation as well. So by putting set standards for every single solar farm, I think that as far as setbacks go, I think that we could be creating more problems as opposed to looking at each situation as its own. And by going the route that Wells County did, and I'm not saying it's the best route, but that certainly gives the Board of Zoning Appeals and the Planning Commission options to be able to look at each individual one that comes forward as an individual project and make the stipulations they wish to make. Now, that doesn't mean that we couldn't also adopt a set of standards, minimum standards, that may be more restrictive than the state's requirements, but I don't know that we necessarily want to make a bunch of different standards for each individual zoning classification and so forth, which was where we were kind of heading, so.
Well, on those small ones you mentioned, by the time you put the setbacks in that we did for that one, there won't be any room for solar.
Right.
For solar panels.
Yep. Well, the small scale would be much different than, the large scale standards certainly don't apply to the small.
Yeah.
Somebody wants to put a ground mounted solar unit on their house property, they're not going to have to follow the large scale requirements. And it would certainly be, the small, medium, and large is depicted in Wells County by the amount of wattage that they're producing, which is pretty typical of what we've seen in most zoning ordinances. So, but I didn't know if that interested you at all, or if you'd like to just stick with what we have and go with the minimum standards that the state's going to be moving forward with. Or if you want to go with an all-inclusive large zoning ordinance that is 30, 40 pages.
What's your current ordinance look like that you've been working on?
It's pretty extensive. It's about 30, 40 pages, and we're dealing with a lot.
Have we had an opportunity to see that?
You have not. I was kind of putting everything on hold to see what was going on with the state, and now we know what's going on.
So we probably should at least take a look at what work you've already put together and see how we like that.
I'll get that to you.
And then, certainly in the meantime, we've got the opportunity to look up Wells County and see.
Can you send that to us too?
Absolutely.
See how that looks.
Now, the thing with Wells County, just so you know, all of that is in place within their entire zoning ordinance. So there's like 3 sections that you would want to look at. Number 1, the definitions, and I can certainly highlight that information for you so you'll know what you're looking for.
When's the extension in, Brian?
Believe, you mean as far as the HB? I believe July 1st was the date that we would need to have something adopted if we want something more restrictive than what the state is stating.
Brett, what happened to the Senate version of that bill?
There was some edits made to it. I haven't had an opportunity to read the edits, but they certainly made some shifts because there was a lot of local communities that were in complete opposition of it.
So, Jeff, did it pass the Senate? What I read, that they had come up with a special district which was to incentivize solar.
That was one of the
that had a financial incentive to it. And then, if I read it correctly, there was a home rule provision which gave local jurisdictions incredible amount of discretion on whether or not to accept what the state came up with. Now, I don't know if that passed.
It's supposed to be voted on today, I believe. I was told they were voting on the 13th. And that was with all of the amendments that you're talking about. And the one amendment was requiring, I believe it was $3,500 a megawatt to be given to the local municipality for economic incentive. I honestly haven't had a chance to read through it all in detail, but I know that was one of the aspects. And they were certainly looking at property values in nearby solar panels or solar farms, trying to come up with a solution as far as helping those people out.
Okay.
So, but I'll get what I have to you, and as well as the Wells County, so you have an idea of what they proposed. They didn't even adopt minimum standards in Wells County. They simply added that in so that it required additional steps that the public had an opportunity to speak in front of. Plus, it placed the decision really solely in the hands of the county commissioners. So.
But they didn't have to go through all those steps, even on the medium-sized one?
No, not on the medium size.
Yeah.
What was a medium size one?
I believe it's 1 megawatt. I believe it was 10 kilowatts to 1 megawatt was medium. I'd have to look at it again, but it was something
1
like that.
megawatt. How many acres would that be?
We were looking at 125 megawatts on 750 acres, so.
So, yeah. It'll be very big.
And we could certainly define a large scale and medium scale, however we choose to define
Well, it's
it.
just what I was thinking, thinking around my head here. All the ones that we have approved for the city of Anderson, we'd want to be sure they didn't have to go through all those extra steps.
Yeah,
Put them in the medium.
we can certainly
Right,
alter
yeah,
it
we
however
have to
we
go.
need to.
So, I mean, because that would take, you
Yeah.
know, those have been going through pretty good, and it seems like it's been working out pretty good for
Oh, yeah.
everybody. And so we don't want to restrict those people.
What's the largest one we have right now?
It's Lone Oak Solar.
Let's talk about one.
Oh, you mean IMPA? I was thinking the largest one they did was around 20 megawatts, maybe 25.
You don't know acres though,
The largest was 60 acres.
60 acres.
Yeah.
This megawatt thing, hard for me to see.
Yeah.
On that 60 acres, a portion of it was in the city of Anderson as well. I think it was 40 in the county, 20 in the
That's
city of Anderson.
about right, yeah.
Alright.
They tried to put them right on the edge of the city so that they can bring it right into their system.
Any
That's all.
update on the comprehensive plan?
It has been approved by the Board of Commissioners, so I believe it's been recorded and it's ready to go. May not have been recorded yet because I think they're printing the documents still. I don't think we have the hard copies as of yet. So as soon as the hard copies come in, it'll be recorded and be official. It has been approved, so. So now we just need to move forward with the potential zoning changes to the zoning ordinance as well as thoroughfare plan. And I think we should also look at impact fees. So, yeah.
Are the heavy trucks still crossing the southern boundary?
I didn't help take care of that, they shut them down.
That's all I have.
Anything else? Greg, you got anything today? No.
I move that we adjourn.
A motion to adjourn, we got a second? Second, all in favor, aye? Close same, meeting adjourned.